everybody, Kirk here with Space Pickle Designs. If you'd like to see how to make this necklace, then just keep on watching. So the materials that I'm going to use for this necklace is going to be from the Market Marvel Sam's bead box. I pulled in some cotton cord, some extra spacers, and bead caps in my metal tone color. I got some GS Hypo cement. I got a button, a shank button from my stash as well, and a glove here, and you'll see why I need that in a minute. All right, so let's get started. Okay, and so I have made this super simple. This is like the simplest knotting technique that you could probably do, but what I've done is taken 2 wingspans of cotton cord here. This is supposed to be waxed cotton, but I don't think it is. It's a coated cotton. But it works okay. It was super cheap from Amazon, but it looks like it'll hold up pretty good. So I took the 2 ends here, and this is where I'm going to put on my glove, because prepping the ends here is going to be kind of important. And so I'm going to take my my scissors here and just cut these tips on an angle. So this is what we're working with. Put those off to the side. So we have our like darted points here. And so then I'm going to take my GS Hypo cement and I am going to coat at least an inch. And I take that and then I rub it around in my fingers, and I make sure to like go a certain way and kind of like make sure that point is going to be pointy. So do the other end here, get a good coating on it. And I know my hypo cement is struggling for sure. All right, so the important part is to kind of let that dry completely. You can do 2 coats if you want to. But I find like I'll just reapply if I need to, but I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry and then we'll come back. Okay, so I did 2 coats on my threads here, and just do it, because I promise you it'll save a lot of mental anguish later, especially if you have beads that are just like on the edge of being too small to be using for this. It really does make it a lot easier. So with that being said, I'm going to show you some tools here. I do have some knotting pliers here. I don't like to use them though that much because they, as you can see here, they don't have a spring, so I kind of have to hold them like this. These, the round nose pliers, do a pretty good job, and I've used my regular Xuron little tweezer nose pliers as well, so just use what you're comfortable with. But I am going to put a bead cap. I'm going to put my main bead. This is what's going to be in the middle of the necklace. This is the focal, and this little bead here, well, not little, she's a big mama, but this bead here is just so cute. And so I am going to take the 2 ends. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down to the middle of my piece here, and we're going to start making knots. All right, so just in order to keep my middle kind of secure here, I'm going to put a bead bug on one end, and that's so that I can pull the knot pretty tight here. I'm going to get my threads on either side of me, and what we're going to do is just an overhand knot, and I pull it all the way through. Then I take my pliers, I go through the loop, hold on to the edge I want my my knot to be, and then I just pull the knot down. And because these are pretty small, I'm able to get a knot pretty close. Now what I do here, this is just a little extra step, but when I have thumbnails it works a little better, but I take my thumbnail and I kind of just pull it a little bit tighter. And so that's just to get a uniformity of knot there. And so I'm gonna go ahead, flip this, do the other side so that we can start fresh, right? We have our center piece here. And so again, we're just gonna go over, pull your string tail through. I go through the loop here, as you can see, and then I hold on to the place where I want my knot to be, and then I just pull the loop down. And so I'm getting it down to the little, like the edge of my tweezers, but I don't pull tight. I take the tweezers out and kind of pull it down like that, because if you pull it too tight, you'll have a knot that is far away from your bead. So just make sure that you kind of like, I'll show you again here, but we'll pick out some more beads and get this going. But this is going to be the center of the necklace. So you're having long strings on both sides. And this way you don't have to mimic a pattern on each side, which I don't think I'm going to do. I'm going to do some like color blocking. But I did want to make sure that this is going to fall in the middle, and that's why I started from the middle out. So let's go ahead and get some more beads out here. Okay, so for the next ones, I've decided to do a pattern of 3 here. And I'm going to do knots in between. So I had some of these agate beads from the box. Pull it down. And if you like it, then you keep it. So I just do an overhand knot, pull my string through, and now you see we still have this loop. We go in the loop and then hold on to the place where we want our knot. We're going to tighten the knot down using our tweezers here. We're down to the bottom. Release your tweezers and then kind of push the knot down with your tweezers, kind of tighten it up. Now what you do is you take your thumbnail, kind of put it on that knot, and then you pull. And so this will make a really tight necklace, but then at the end you can pull it a little bit so that it relaxes, and then you have like that perfect balance between really tight knots and a really flowy necklace. So again, we're going through another bead. And some of these may not work, but this is where your pointed threads come in. And again, if you need to twist, do that as well. And once you start seeing like that little bit of thread that's coming out at the end, you pull it with your tweezers too. That helps. If we didn't glue the end of our cord, there'd be like no chance, and you'd just be sitting here cursing me. So we're doing the loop, we're going through the loop, and we're gonna hold on to where we want the knot to be. Tighten the knot here. Take your pliers out, kind of work it down, and then take your thumbnail and tighten it up. All right, so this is the fun part. You just get to like pick all the beads that you want to use, and it's really your design. I'm going to make a mismatched design here, and I was almost on the fence about using this red cotton cord, but I'm really liking it actually, because there's not a lot of red beads here. There's like beads with red in them, but not a lot of like red beads, and so I think it kind of ties in that focal piece. So let's get going. I'll check in periodically, show you kind of like what I'm doing here, but then we'll go to the end and show you how to do the clasping. Okay, so excuse the giant mess on my bead mat here, but that's part of the fun, right? So here's kind of like what I've got going on so far, and I'm just gonna keep going. I really like my patterns of 3s and 5s and 1s, like all the odd numbers. And so I'm gonna continue to work on it and add some of those like metallic accents throughout, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so I have my necklace here. It's about a 20-inch necklace, 21-inch necklace, and we're just gonna finish it off. So if you'd like to kind of copy my pattern, just take a screenshot. Here's kind of what I used. These little golden spacers are from my stash. These are leftover from a bargain bead box, and some of these are just like stainless steel spacers. And so I've matched it up here. I did use these other focal beads, and so what we're gonna do is just finish it off. And so how I like to do this, I just pick one side where I want the button to be, and since I'm going to be right-handed wearing this, I'm putting the shank button down, and I'll zoom you in a little bit. Shank button down, and again, we are just going to make a knot here. We're gonna bring it all the way down. And so you see the cotton cord is actually kind of going upwards. I don't like that, so I like to make another knot. And so when I make this knot, I make the loop around my fingers, and then coming from the button side down, I put the thread in this way. This way it should point the thread down and also give that knot a little bit more stability. All right, and now you can make more knots if you want. I might make one more. And we're gonna glue this monstrosity anyway, so don't you worry. So I like to have a really just like obnoxious knot, and then I'll leave this. I'm gonna leave just a little bit for our finishing touches here. But here's a knot, and then on the other side, what I do is just like, because this, I don't want the thread exposed, I kind of just thread on some of these eidos, and this is in like a greenish blue color that kind of ties in through the rest of the necklace. So I'm gonna go ahead and string enough to where this is gonna go over the button. I won't make you suffer through watching that. But yeah, it's pretty simple, and I'll let you know how many I have. All right, I have 20 seed beads for my loop, and what we're gonna do is really just make a knot over the knot that we already have here. And make sure your seed bead doesn't pop through like that on your loop here, and just inch it down. The first knot is the hardest on this one, and then once you get it in place, you can make another knot. And again, we're gonna go downwards, but you can make your knots however you want. I'm really not a good knot maker if you've seen, so I just want to make sure that it's secure. For me, this part, I'm still learning, so it doesn't have to be super pretty for me, because I'm going to cover this with glue. So this is just 2 knots over top of the knot that we already had, and I'm going to cut this down really close because we are ready to do our glue. And so for this one as well, this one's a little bit lumpier, but since it's the shank here, you really won't see it. So what we do, let's cut this all the way down here. Go ahead, get your glove back on. I just reuse the same glove over and over, and it seems to work pretty well with the hypo cement because it doesn't destroy the nitrile. And so it's just a matter of getting your knot glued. So I put a big old glob, and then I'll kind of work it in and saturate it with my fingers. Right, I set that off to the side to dry, and this one you will saturate as well. If you get a little bit on one of your beads, it's okay. It dries pretty rubbery, and so you can actually cut it with an X-Acto knife off of that bead. But I do want to make sure that all of the cotton is saturated here. So then we just leave it to dry. All right, so here she is. Did she not turn out beautiful? I don't know if I can even sell this one. I love this one so much. I really loved that box from Sam's Bead Box. That was, I think it was in collaboration with Danielle Wicks, and so look at all these colors. I just love it. But if you don't have the box, you can still do this technique with any of the beads in your stash that'll fit through 1mm or whatever cord that you choose, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, take her outside, get a little action shot so you can see what she looks like in all the colors, and I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you're staying safe and well. Bye.